Hey, my name is Shelly, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about all the series I'm going to be continuing in 2025. We're going to be doing this tier style because I have 51 series to talk about today. If I did a full synopsis for all of these series, we're going to be here for a long time, and time is precious at this time of the year. Grab your drink, grab a snack, have your sidekick, and let's get started. Prompts are reread. So these are series that I want to reread. Top tier priority. Obviously, these are the series that I'm like, I need to read immediately. They're my top priority. Slow and steady are like series that that are important to me and I do want to read, but I'm not like consuming them like air. When the mood strikes, kind of self-explanatory. Sometimes we're in the mood for something, sometimes we're not. And then this one is, I'll get to it one day, meaning I do want to continue on the series and I do want to read it, but it's really not a priority at all. This next one is 2025 releases. Obviously, that's self-explanatory. And this is up to date. So that I'm up to date on the series, and the next book in the series has not been confirmed yet. Honestly, I really love tier rankings, so let's get started. Okay, so the first one is Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. Oh man, this is gonna be rough. I'm up to date on this. This is a urban fantasy kind of dark academia series, and I like it. It's not a favorite, but I like it more so than her other series. So I'm up to date on this. This is the second book, so the third book has to come out, and there has been no announcement of the release date. So yes, I'm up to date. Reverend X. This is the sequel to Paradise 1 by David Wellington. I read that Paradise 1, I think last year or this year, I can't remember, but I really enjoyed it. And this one just came out. So I like it, but I haven't been in the mood for sci-fi, so I'm going to stick it in when the mood strikes me, because I actually heard conflicting reviews about this book, so maybe I'll just wait for the third book to come out before continuing on. But then, I'll have to reread the whole thing. That old song and dance. Okay, Temple of the Sand by Barbara Klaus. This is a self-published romantasy, I think it's like fantasy romance series that I started a really long time ago, and I actually own all three. When I started this, I wasn't in my romantasy era, so maybe I will get to it. I'm probably going to put it in slow and steady because I do want to give it the old college try. Okay, Ballad of the Fallen Dragons by Sarah A. Parker, the continuation of When the Moon Hatched. I really liked the premise of it, but I felt like, one, the writing was kind of all over the place and a little confusing, and two, I felt like the author was kind of struggling between her own voice and kind of following the Sarah J. Maas trail. So like when she was writing her own voice, I loved it, but then when she was like pulling from Sarah J. Maas, I really didn't like it. So I think I'm going to have to put it in slow and steady, but it's going to go before Temple of the Sand. Authority by Jeff Vandermeer. This is the sequel to Annihilation. I can't remember the series name, but it's like this weird sci-fi series. I really did like Annihilation, but honestly, I think it's going to go and I'll get to it one day. It's not a priority, but I do own all the books, which are like absolutely, the covers are absolutely beautiful. Like all of Jeff Vandermeer's book covers are just like, I want them on my walls. But yes, it's not a series that I was like fully gripped by, but I did enjoy it enough to want to continue on. Spider Key by Jacqueline Hagan. This is the sequel to Wickwire Watch. I recently read that. This is a self-published book that got a lot of praise because I think it was a nomination for SBFBO one year, and it was really interesting. It was a very blend of a lot of different genres like steampunk and high fantasy and horror fantasy and found family. It's got a lot of everything, but honestly, I wasn't fully gripped with the book. I did like it, but I don't think it's really for me. So I'm probably gonna go with When the Mood Strikes and probably put it before Reverend X. Why won't it go? Go, you could do it. All right, there. The problem with these little tags is I can't see what the title is called, and I don't really remember what a lot of them are. The Dragon of Jin-Sayan by K.S. Veloso. This is the third and final book in the Chronicles of the Bitch Queen, and I recently read the first two books earlier this year. Honestly, the only reason I haven't read this third and final book is because there's no audiobook for it, and I don't own the copy. It's a very ambitious story, but I feel like the story was too condensed, and I'm not sure if that had anything to do with the publishing or whatever, because I know that the authors had issues with the publisher that I was not completely in love with, but I did like it enough to continue on. So I will continue on one day. Probably gonna go B. Man, is this tier thing slow or is it my internet? Okay, The Ashfire King by Chelsea Abdullah. This is the sequel to Stardust Thief, which I read maybe last year or the year before. I really did enjoy it. And for some reason, this sequel has just been pushed back. So I'm just waiting for the release date. But honestly, it's come so long that I don't really remember what this book is about. I mean, I do, but I remember I can't remember all the fine details. So it's in 2025 release. I may have to put that in reread, but we'll see. Red Seas Under Red Skies by Scott Lynch. I reread Lies Mora recently, and although I do really like this book and this book series, it's just, I don't know, it didn't grip me as much as I wanted to. I'm more hesitant to continue on with the series because I don't want to get really, really invested in it and then have to wait an eternity for the continuation books, which doesn't seem like it's going to happen anytime soon. So I think I'm just kind of waiting for that fourth book to be announced or actually have a confirmed release date before continuing on with the series. And at that point, I'll probably have to reread the series all over again. But right now, we're going to put it in... I'll get to it one day, but it's going to be at the top. Valley, this is the third book in the Glaceon trilogy by Stacey McEwen. I read Ledge and Chasm like probably a couple months ago and really, really enjoyed it. I didn't like Chasm as much as I liked Ledge. I really liked that first book, but I do want to get to it. So I think it's going to go in top priority because it is the last final book in the trilogy and they're quite short books. So honestly, I could just finish this trilogy out and knock my series list down one more notch. So I think I'm just going to make it a top priority just to finish up the series. The Dark Forest by Xishen Liu. This is the second book in the continuation to The Three Body Problem. And I really enjoyed The Three Body Problem. I find it a bit jarring at times, and I think that I really just need to be in the mood for something like this. But honestly, I think it'll go before... Yeah, I think it'll go before Spider Key. The Girl and the Moon by Mark Lawrence. Again, this is a third book in a trilogy that I just need to finish in order to knock this trilogy off my series list. But for some reason, I don't know what it is with Mark Lawrence books. I really love the first book in the series, and then the second book just kind of doesn't meet the same standards, or I didn't like it as much. I'm having the same problem with his newer series, the Library series. So I don't know. I should just read this book and get it out of the way. So maybe I should just make it a top priority just to knock the series out. Echoes of Things to Come by James Islington. This is the second book in the Lycanius trilogy. I will be perfectly honest, I think I need to reread that book. What is that book called? The Shadows of What Was Lost. I think I need to reread that because my memory of this series is very limited. I remember like a couple things here and there. And I think my problem was I listened to the audiobook and I felt like Michael Kramer, who does the Stormlight series, he is the narrator. And for me, it just didn't fit because these characters are supposed to be in their teens to early 20s and his voice is very adult. So I felt like that maybe the narration just didn't work for me. So I think that maybe I just need to reread it physically and start brand new. So you know what? I'm going to put it into reread, but we're going to pretend like it's The Shadow of What Was Lost. So just pretend like that's that. Okay. Here's another final in a trilogy, although this is like a trilogy in a series of the Realm of the Elderlings, and that is The Fool's Fate by Robin Hobb. Okay, so my relationship with Robin Hobb is very difficult to explain. Her series, the Lie Ship Trader series, which is right here, is one of my favorite series of all time. Like, honestly, it may be my favorite series. Between Stormlight and this one, I'm not sure which one will win, but it is one of my favorite series. But when it actually comes to anything regarding Fitz, and that is told in first-person narrative in the realm of the Elderlings world, I don't love it as much. I'm not sure what it is, but it doesn't grip me as much as the live ship trilogy did. So I do want to continue on with the realm of Elderlings. I've been dragging my feet, so honestly, I think it should be a top priority because, again, it's another third in a trilogy that I just need to get going. So I think I'm going to put it here. Yeah. The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. This is the second book in the, oh my god, what is the series trilogy called? The Bloodsworn trilogy. I really like The Hungers of the Gods, but I don't think I like it as much as everybody else did. Everybody else was like gushing about it when it came out, and I appreciated it when it came out, but I think it's one of those times where I think I just have an unpopular opinion, or my opinion is just, it's very lackluster. I reread Shadow of the Gods recently, and I still kind of felt the same way. So I think it's just going to be when the mood strikes me, because honestly, it's not a priority right now. So I think it's going to go here. Babylon Ashes by James S.A. Corey. This is book number 6 in the Expanse series, I think. I think it's 6. And I loved the Expanse series TV show, but for some reason, the book series just doesn't work for me, which is completely the opposite of usually how I feel. Usually I'm like, the adaptation sucks. The book is way better, but in my personal opinion, I just feel like the TV show worked better for me. So I think I'm going to get to, one day I'll get to it. Yeah. Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. I swear, I should have a category in here that's just like the last in the series that you need to complete. Here's another one, the third in the series that I need to complete, the Greenbone Saga. Again, unpopular opinion about this series. I can appreciate the hell out of it. I think it's amazing, but again, it's not for me. But I've heard this last book just really brings it in, but I don't know. I haven't been really in the mood for it. So I think I'm going to have to put it in top priority just to get it out of the way. Put it here. Oh, The Will of the Many, the sequel to The Strength of the Few, I believe. Obviously, I am up to date on that one, so I'm going to put it here. There is no cover, so that's why Will of Many is there. So yes, I will be picking that up in 2025 when it comes out for sure. It was an awesome first book, and I really hope the rest of the series continues that momentum. The Dresden Files. I actually don't know which one this one is. Okay, Summer Night, and this is book 4 in the Dresden Files. All of my friends are like, are you reading Dresden Files yet? Have you read Dresden Files? Have you continued on yet? And I'm like, no, because I don't love it like everybody else does. I have a lot of issues with the tone of the book series, especially how women are portrayed. So that's just kind of how I feel about it. But I heard, and from all my friends telling me, keep going, it gets better, but I'm still waiting. So this is book number 4. I will get to it one day. Probably before Over Red Seas, Over Red Skies, unless the announcement date is released. I think this is Frostbitten by Patricia Briggs. This is the 7th in the Mercy Thompson series. I binge read like the first part of the series, and then I kind of started slowing down because I noticed that the plot wasn't really picking up. And it was just kind of very mundane, very episodic, and it just it wasn't giving me what I really wanted, although I still really do enjoy it. But I think I'm going to go with, I will get to this one day. Probably before Dresden Files, to be honest. Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. I just finished Iron Flame not too long ago. I was a little underwhelmed by Iron Flame. I hate to put a lot of pressure on Onyx Storm, but if Onyx Storm does not deliver, I probably will be DNFing this series. So I'm going to be putting it in 2025 releases, and I'm going to be putting it right here because it is coming out in January. So I will be getting into it first. The Throne of Broken Gods by Amber V. Nicole. This is the second book in Gods and Monsters series. So I'm actually currently reading the Book of Azrael, and I'm actually enjoying it quite a bit. So it's probably going to go up to top priority. I think it's one of those occasions where I'm picking up the right book at the right time, and I'm just totally feeling the series, so I'm definitely going to pick up the sequel, unless it's like completely terrible ending, so we'll see. Black Tide Under Black Sun. This is the sequel to Darkwater Daughter by H.M. Long, and I really loved Darkwater Daughter. I keep talking about this book, and I keep talking about how I'm going to read Black Tide Sun, but I do want to read it close to the release date of the third book that's coming out in July of 2025. So it is going to probably go at the end of top priority because, you know, I'm probably not going to get it till probably about springtime. Glow of the Everflame by Penn Cole. This is the second book in the... What is this series called? Kindred Curse series. I got it. I read Spark of the Flame last month. Really enjoyed it, so it is going to be a top priority. Alecto by Tamsin Muir, and this is the fourth book in the Locked Tomb series, one of my favorite series of all time. And I'm going to be doing a reread of the entire series close to the date of when this fourth book comes out. There is no announcement date yet, but honestly, the moment that it is announced, I will be planning a reread of the entire series around that announcement date. So I am going to put it top priority because I love the series. I can never say this. Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinneman. I read the first book in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. Absolutely loved it. I do need to pick up the second book. I just haven't been able to get the audiobook because it's only available through Audible for me. So I have to use an Audible credit, and we know how precious those are. So I'm going to put it under top priority, but probably going to read it before Black Tide Sun, to be honest. Yeah, probably put it there. Okay. Foxglove by Adeline Grace. This is the second book in the Belladonna series. I recently read Belladonna, I think last month, and I really liked it. So I'm probably going to put it... Ooh, I don't know which one I want to read first. Well, I own Glow of the Everflame, so I'm probably going to put it there because I don't have a physical copy of Foxglove yet. Dragon Reborn by Robert Jordan. This is the third book in the Wheel of Time series, and I have very polarizing thoughts about this series. I really want to love it because I am a hardcore fantasy fan, so I should love it, right? But there's something about the writing that I just couldn't connect with, and honestly, that's a big part of reading a book, is the writing. But I do really enjoy a lot about the series. But I've also heard a lot of things that I'm not crazy about, by like the slog, obviously, and some character developments that I'm not crazy about. So I don't know how I feel about this series, but I do want to continue on. So I think I'm going to put it top priority. Probably going to read it before Black Tide Sun. Yeah. Exit Strategy by Martha Wells. This is the fourth book in the Murderbot Diaries, and I'm slowly making my way through the series. It's really not a top priority, but I am enjoying it, and I really do like Murderbot, so I think I'm going to put it in slow and steady. It's a nice palate cleanser every once in a while, especially since they're quick novellas, although I think Exit Strategy is the full-length one. No, this is the novella. I think the next one is the full-length one, so this is the novella. So they're nice, quick things to put in between things, so yes, slow and steady, of course. City of Mirth and Malice by Alexis Almenard. This is the sequel to House of Bane and Blood, which I just read recently, and I really did enjoy it. I didn't love it as much as a lot of people did, but I think I want to just continue it because it is a duology, and it's the last book in the duology of, I think, a series that's going to continue going on of different duologies. So I think I'm going to put it... Realistically, I'm probably going to read it before Jade City. I will be perfectly honest. So I'm going to put it there. Magic Shifts. This is the 8th book in the Kate Daniels series by Ilona Andrews. I love Ilona Andrews so much. So I've been buddy read this with my friend on Discord, and I'm actually listening to the graphic audiobooks, so I'm just waiting for that one to come out in January. This is an awesome, fun urban fantasy series. I always recommend this series to everybody. If you even don't like urban fantasies, I think it's a good entry into urban fantasy. So yes, I'm going to definitely put it here. I'm probably going to put it before Valley because it does come out in January. So yeah. Oh, Gideon. Okay, so I did include Gideon. Okay, so I'm going to put this here and then reread Gideon. Go! There we go. The Bound Worlds by Megan E. O'Keefe. This is the third and final book in the Devouring Worlds series trilogy. I really loved The Blight and Stars. I really did not like The Fractured Dark. I thought it was not a good book in my opinion. It was, I had issues with it. I talk about it in one of my videos, so I can link it there if you're interested. So this is the third book in the series, and honestly, I should put it top priority, but after that second book, I am really not in a rush, so I think I'm going to put it slow and steady. I'm not sure which one I'd rather read first. Realistically, probably here. Why wouldn't you go? The Reckoning by Caroline Peckham and Suzanne Vitelli. This is the third book in the Zodiac Academy series. I recently read the first two books like back to back. I listened to the audiobook, the graphic audiobook, and after listening to the second one, I realized that the graphic audio was just not for me. So I have to read these physically, but honestly, at this point, I think my momentum for this series has really slowed down and I've kind of got distracted by other series, so I'm probably going to put it at the back of top priority right now. That may change, but as of right now, that's where it is. Skyward by Brandon Sanderson. I have to reread this. I read this book, oh God, years ago when it came out, and I just kind of never continued on with. But now that I'm like almost caught up with the Cosmere, I think I just need to get back into Skyward and complete the series. So I need to reread it. It's a nice YA sci-fi series, so that has nothing to do with Cosmere, but it's still a lot of fun. So I'm excited to get back into it. Requiem for a Sun by Elizabeth Hayden. This is the fourth book in Symphony of Ages series. I've talked about this series a lot on my channel, especially my favorite book, Rhapsody. I've talked about that a lot. This series is a very tumultuous series for me. I love so much about it, but I absolutely hate so much about it. But I do want to continue on. It is my goal to finish the series at some point in my life, so I'm reading it slow and steady. It's probably going to go before there. Okay. The Veiled Throne by Ken Liu. This is the third book in the Dandelion Dynasty. I don't really need to explain this series. I think everybody at this point knows about it. I read the first book in 2023 and I read the second book earlier this year, but I do need to continue on with The Veiled Throne. I have a friend that's kind of poking me and telling me to read it, so I'm going to be doing that soon. But yeah, I feel like, although it's a top priority, I feel like I need to be in the mood for it. But I don't want to go when mood strikes me because I do want to make it a top priority. It's going to go before Jade Legacy. Yeah, definitely before Jade Legacy because I liked it more than The Green Saga. High King's Tomb by Kristen Britton. This is the third book in the Green Rider series. I read the first two books in the Green Rider series in the summertime. Really did enjoy Green Rider. Did not so much like the second book. I felt like the second book was a massive step down. But I've heard from so many people and a lot of my friends on Discord to keep going because the third book does get better, and I do really like this world. I love, like, it just brings me back to the nostalgic times when I started reading fantasy for the first time. So I do want to get to this. I think it's going to be a top priority, but I don't. Yeah, it's probably going to be for Jade Legacy. Dead House Gates by Stephen Erickson. This is the second book in the Malazan, how do you ever say it? Series. I actually, I started the series, but soft DNF'd it because I was listening to the audiobook, which was on Everend, and then they removed it, so I didn't have an audiobook. I know that there's an audiobook on YouTube of this, but a lot of time when I'm listening to audiobooks, I'm out and about and I can't have my phone on, so it makes it very difficult. So I'm going to have to buy the audiobook, and honestly, at this point, it's been such a long time, I'm going to have to reread that bitch. So I'm putting it here. Every Which Way But Dead by Kim Harrison. This is the third book in the Hollows. I recently read the first two books with my friends in Discord, and we had a lot of fun with it. Honestly, it's probably one of my new favorite urban fantasy series that I've read recently. I absolutely love it, so it is going in top priority for sure. I think it actually may go before Alone at Andrews because I think we're going to try and squeak in the audiobook before the end of the year. I'm not entirely sure if that's going to work out, but at least early January. Stone of Farewell by Tad Williams. This is the second book in Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn. I read The Dragonbone Chair probably in the summertime, and although I didn't love it, I can totally understand why everybody loves the series. Tad Williams is honestly an amazing storyteller. The visuals that he paints is so beautiful. Like, honestly, they're just so beautiful. So I do like it. But as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that I don't really necessarily like the classics fantasy trope of the young guy from a small town getting thrust into an adventure. It's not really I feel like it's been done and said a bunch of times, but although this book is probably one of the older ones that I've read besides Lord of the Rings. So it is there, but I think I'm going to put it at slow and steady, and it's probably going to go after Requiem for a Son. This is interesting. This is the entire series of The World of Elong by Michael J. Sullivan. Joshana has recently posted a video saying that they're going to be doing a reread of the entire series starting in January, and I decided to jump back on it because I really did love Legends of the First Empire. I was kind of mid on Rhaenyra, and I do need to continue on to like the bridging series, The Rise and Fall, so I feel like I need to read a good old reread. So I'm going to put this here because I'm actually starting it in January. Dark Fever by Karen Marie Moning. This is the first book in the Fever series. I read the Fever series like 15 years ago, a long time ago, and I really enjoyed it, but I stopped after the first arc, and then the story continued on, so I kind of think I need to just reread and continue the story. This is very much like Crescent City, where it's like urban fantasy about Fae, but I think it's in our world. So yeah, so I honestly really want to get to that soon, but I'm not entirely sure when I'm gonna fit it into my rereads. Probably before Skyward. No, you don't want to go. Go. Okay. Best Served Cold by Joe Abercrombie. This is the fourth book in the First Law series, and honestly, I'm just chipping away at the fourth law. I actually started reading this book, but I had to put it down because I was doing a buddy read with a friend, and she couldn't start it. It's a long story. Anyways, I do need to continue on with it, and I do want to continue on with it soon. So it's going to be a top priority, and I'm probably going to put it... I want to get to it soon, so I'm going to put it before Valley. The Art of Destiny by Wesley Chu. This is the second book in the, oh my god, I can't remember the series. I'll put it here. I really enjoyed the first one, which was Art of Prophecy, but I'm kind of hesitant to continue on because the third book has not been announced. And is there a third book? I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, I haven't picked up Art of Destiny because of that. So I think I'm just going to put it slow and steady until I get a little bit more information about it. Oh, The Book That Broke the World. This actually should be in reread. This is the second book in the Library Trilogy by Mark Lawrence. I have tried to read this book many, many times. This is the second book, I believe I said. And honestly, I kind of really don't remember much about the book that wouldn't burn. Even though it was one of my favorite reads of 23, I don't remember a lot of it. So I think I have to reread the first book and then the second book and then in time for the third book that's coming out later this year. So I think I'm going to put it here. Come on. Yeah, because it's coming out later, so I'm probably going to prioritize it for later in the year. Lightbringer by Pierce Brown. This is the latest book in the Red Rising series. I don't like the Red Rising series. I think I'm only reading it just because everybody's like, it's so amazing. And there were a lot of things I liked about the first trilogy. But then the sequel series, I guess it is now, it's not a trilogy, there was a lot about it I didn't like. And after Dark Age, I literally had no desire to continue on the series, but everyone's like, continue on, it's so amazing. So I think I'm going to wait until the last book in the series comes out before picking up Lightbringer. So I think I'll get to it slow and steady, probably before them. The Iron Crown. This is the first book in the Dragon Spirit series. I'm not sure if it's trilogy or series by L.L. McRae. I read this a couple years ago, absolutely loved it, and then did not continue on to the sequel that came out, I think, a couple years ago or last year. And I really do need to continue on. Besides the fact that I liked it, I don't really remember very much about it. So I think it deserves a good reread. So I'm going to put it in reread. And I'm not... Rebel Witch, this is the sequel to Heartless Hunter, aka The Crimson Moth, from the Crimson Moth series by Kristen Cicerilli. So this is obviously coming out in 25, so I'm going to put it in 2025 release date. I believe it's coming out in either January or February, so I'm going to be really reading it soon. This is a YA dark romantasy series. I really enjoyed the first one. I didn't love it, but I did enjoy it enough to continue on with Rebel Witch. Servants of the Empire. This is the second book in the Empire trilogy by Raymond E. Feist and Jenny Wartz. The first one being Daughter of the Empire. I really enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed that first book, but it didn't grip me as much as I wanted it to, so I think I'm going to put it in slow and steady. And obviously, currently I am reading Wind and Truth by Brandon Sanderson, so once I finish that in a week, I will be up to date with Stormlight Archive. I don't know how I'm going to feel once I finish Wind and Truth, but yes, part of my soul will break a little bit once the series is done. Okay, so I'm just going to rearrange this a little bit just to make sure that I have my priorities in order. Okay, so I updated top priority. This is obviously, some of them are in order for timing purposes, such as like The Black Tide Sun is later in the year, so that's why it's a lower priority, even though I really do enjoy that series. So this is more like timing for when I get to these books. So I think that's pretty good. Slow and steady. I think I'm just going to keep this the way it is. When the Mood Strikes, also, I think I'm just going to keep that the way it is. I'll get to it one day. I'll put this one at the top. And I'm going to put this one at the back. 25 releases. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Obviously, I would love this fourth book to be number one, but you know. So that is my series list. It is much larger than I usually would like, but honestly, it doesn't bother me as much as it bothers a lot of other people to have such a long list of series. For me, I actually love it because I have so much to grab from. But again, so many plots and characters to keep in my head is a lot. So I do want to cut out some of these, especially some of the trilogies that I could just get rid of. I'm a little overwhelmed, but I'm also okay with this. If you've made it to the end of the video and you want to comment but you don't really have anything to say, you can leave a firework emoji. And also comment down below. Let me know the series that you are most eager to get to in 2025. As always, my socials are down below, and thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye.